appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to go ahead and start and let us begin. My name is Karen Levin. I'm the Executive Director for the Baltimore Zionist District, BZD. Thank you again for being here this morning. Israel, as you know, is on day 11 of being targeted by Hamas, the terror organization, with over 400 rockets shot into the borders to date. The latest being large rocket barrage over Ashkelon and Ashdod at 10:15 a.m. Israel continues to fight with strength and dignity. It is our time here and our duty to unite and stand in solidarity. It's my honor this morning to have with us and introduce you to Rabbi Carlos Tapiero, the Deputy Director General and Director of Education for Maccabi World Union, born in Argentina in 1962, and today married to Ronit Emekia with 3 children, Rafael, Liat, and Nil. For more than a dozen years, he has served as community director and rabbi of the Jewish community of Guatemala. His general and specific Jewish education was gained in Israel, Argentina, Guatemala, and the USA, with a BA and MA from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Bible, general philosophy, and contemporary Jewry, specializing in Jewish education and Holocaust study. And his simcha as a rabbi was awarded by the Schechter Institute of Jerusalem. He has completed the high prestigious Jerusalem Fellows in Jerusalem. At present, he is working on his doctorate thesis in sociology. He lectures on numerous topics, teaching at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and other universities, political and religious forums, and Jewish communities in the USA, Europe, Latin America, Africa, and Israel, and his experience ranges over much of the theological and practical nexus of modern and Jewish community, organizations, community, institutional direction, and organization, Jewish networks, Hasbara, and public diplomacy, concepts of Jewish and the basis of modern Jewish culture, writing and implementation of education and curricula for all ages, children, teenagers, adults, fundraising, endowment funds. He's also nifty with information technology, multi-generational, and madly enthusiastic about his work at Maccabi. Carlos, that was a mouthful. You know that you are dear to me and the BZD. We are grateful to have you here this morning with us to brief us and talk to us about the ongoing situation in Israel currently, where you are. I'm going to jump right in with questions because I know that we have a lot to cover this morning. I have a lot of questions for you. If anybody has questions, you can send myself or Adi a private message. We will try to get to them at the end. Carlos, I want to start with Hamas. What is Hamas? Who is Hamas? If we can start with that basic question for people that may not exactly know about that particular organization, I think that's a great place to start.
I'll go about that in a nutshell, but let me thank you guys, because the support of VZT to Israel is uncanny, and the fact that we have this partnership between Maccabi World Union, that I'm very so proud to serve for so many years, and the BZD is something that brings lots of joy to both organizations as one, working together for the future of the Jewish people and connecting our diasporas with the state of Israel. So let me say that, and also I'm very happy to see, I was taking a look who's here, so we have lots of friends from Maccabi World Union going on. I saw Claudia Benedetti, I saw our friends from Maccabi El Salvador, and so on and so forth. Also Robert Cohen, the head of the FLF. So we have lots of people. Of course, you're seeing right now Adi is our shlicha. It's a joint shlicha, and we're very happy. And thank you, Rachel, for leading everything. Karen, you're the best. And Jim, I love you. I didn't see you, but I for sure you're there. So now we're starting. This was the good thing. Speak about the Hamas is speak about the bad guys. Very bad guys. Hamas started in 1987. It was immediately after the first Intifada. You remember the Intifada of the rocks? The really first one, okay? Actually, Hamas were the good guys in the panorama of the Palestinian people. The PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, under Yasser Arafat, they were the aggressive ones, the ones who wanted to bring war and terror against the Jewish people. Hamas at that time was a religious organization. It changed, it was transformed, and it was truly inspired about what was going on in Iran, although these are Sunnis and these are Shiites. These are two different parts of Islam, but this thing of politicization of the religious leadership of Islam had a huge impact from Iran to Hamas. Hamas is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood was founded by Hassan al-Banna in 1928. It's an organization, it's a pan-Arabic organization that, again, was deformed in its very beginnings into this terrorist organization, the big Sunni terrorist organization. All of you remember Al-Qaeda, okay? You fought Al-Qaeda. The U.S. fought Al-Qaeda, okay? Al-Qaeda is another the branch, if you want, of the Muslim Brotherhood. So Hamas is an organization which conceives the presence of non-Muslims in the Middle East not only as a foreign presence, but a forbidden presence by Allah, by God. This is crucial. This brings us to an impossible dialogue with them. One of the great things I learned by the most extraordinary educator I ever had, Professor Michael Rosenak, was related to languages. You know, I do speak several languages, but you can put Google Translate and you can understand what I'm saying from one language to the other one. We have no common language with Hamas because we're coming from the Western way of thinking, which demands, in a way, some kind of compromises, of mutual understanding, of mutual recognition, and so on and so forth. When you're speaking as Hamas on behalf of God himself, so the other side of the picture is completely out. We don't have any possibility to have any way of communicating. They're saying you are not wanted by God in the Middle East. Nothing to do with that. Next. You know, I'll speak a little about Mahmoud Abbas and why there are two authorities for the Palestinian people, and that's the second main thing. Hamas became a political party, and they won the elections in 2006, internal elections of the Palestinians. Now, Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, the leader of that worldwide of the Palestinian Authority, they said to them, no, you will not take over Gaza. You will continue working under me, and so on and so forth. They, at that moment, between June 10 and 15, 2007, they made a coup d'etat, and they took over. They took over all PLO authorities in Gaza in a terrorist act for their own people. They killed most of them, and brutally. And they installed in Gaza a regime, that's a regime, okay? A regime of terror when anyone disagreeing with them will find immediately or huge sufferings or death. It's there. So everything that you can see from their own media will always be censored propaganda, always. This is crucial also. The Palestinian people in Gaza, this is one of the main titles, are hostages of Hamas. I should say, as an Israeli, I care deeply about the Palestinian people. I really want to reach peace with them. As I said, there's no way of reaching the gap between my language, Occidental language, and Hamas. For sure, we could achieve, if they would like that, with the Palestinian Authority, with Abu Mazen, with Mahmoud Abbas, we could reach an agreement. But these guys in Gaza took over since 2007 and installed a regime of terror there. And as a fact, we have two states. The West Bank, where Abu Mazen lives and develops everything, and which is very prosperous, and Gaza under these guys who are only investing in the machinery of war. Next, 3.
Okay, great. Thank you for talking about Hamas and explaining a little bit. Let's move on to this operation. It's another military operation against Hamas. Can you talk a little bit about the previous ones?
Yeah, it's very important, actually, Adi. Thank you for the question. It's very important to speak about this history. This is the 4th time Israel goes into war with Gaza. I'm stressing right now, another title for today, okay? All operations in Gaza were and are Israel defense operations of our Israel civil population. All of them. None of them were initiated by Israel. All of them were initiated by the attack with missiles to Israel. All of them. They were very different one from the other. The first one was the famous Cast Lead. You remember 2008. We took out all our populations in Gaza. We said, guys, this is your complete autonomy. Let's work together. We had so many things doing together till the moment we took all populations, Israeli populations, out of Gaza. They invested in war, and they started a war against Israel, importantly, only to the south. At that time, it was only the south, only everything that was around the Gaza Strip, only there. We attacked at that time with infantry, navy, and air force. It was a very tough war. Completely won by Israel with between 1,150 to 1,400 Palestinians who died, and 13 Israelis. This is also, I'm answering right now one answer. I'm speaking about the second one, and I'm going to say something, another of the titles of today. The second operation, the first one, okay, I said Kasliv 2008. The second one, it was a Pillar of Defense of 2012, okay? In that one, we started with using the Iron Dome, okay? You saw for sure the clips all over the media that you see the Hamas missiles being thrown from Gaza, and these things that they come coming from from nowhere in all sorts of ways. That boom, 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 and they destroy in the air most of the missiles sent by Hamas. That started in 2012. And that operation, Pillar of Defense, was only like this one, only led by the Air Force. This is also very important because we didn't put our army inside. When you enter, many of your soldiers die. No matter what you do. So at that time, there were 175 Palestinians killed. That was reported by the Palestinians, and we know that 120 out of them were not militant, please, okay? They were terrorists, okay? They're not militants. They want to destroy the civilians of the state of Israel. This is crucial also for the understanding. So the second title, third title, I don't know how many titles I'm giving right now, is the lack of proportion between the casualties of Israelis and Palestinians comes from the fact that our monies are invested in all sorts of defense systems to neutralize the attack of the Palestinians, while they're investing all their efforts in developing the war machine, and putting, and that's connected to, I hope you will speak with me about the double crime, about the what they're doing, the Palestinians, but they put their own population, civil population, as the targets, okay, because they don't care about their people. And they show this once again and again. Each person in Israel is a battalion, okay, for the people of Israel, okay? And so we protect each one of our battalions. So the difference in the numbers is that we do everything in our power to protect our civilians. They do everything in their power for the civilians to die, becoming martyrs, and then selling to the world that Israel is a criminal state. The third one, just to give the whole picture of what happened before. That was Tzuk Eitan, that was Protective Edge. You remember 2014. This is very important. 2014, 7 years without a true confrontation with Gaza. So the effects of that 50 days war, okay, which started in July 8th, okay, 50 days. The result was that, and it was fought by the infantry and the Air Force. The result was that we had 7 years of sheket, of some kind of normality with the Gazans, okay, with Hamas and the poor Gazans under the terror. In terms of the casualties, 2,200 Palestinians died in that operation, 71 Israelis. There we had 66 soldiers because the infantry went in, of course. So these are the previous things, and these give you the pattern. They attack with missiles. We try to defend with our best, our civil population. This moment, we're doing this very well.
Thank you. Yeah, Guardians of the Walls is the name of this operation. What provoked it?
This is very important. First of all, you know how the names are. It's a computer which decides the names of the operation. It's something very funny. I was told somebody by my daughter, actually. My daughter was the spokesman of the army. She was the one teaching me what's going on. One parenthesis, I never, ever, ever in my Facebook, I use it for working. But today I put one memory. And that was a picture with my son when he became first sergeant, my eldest son, first sergeant of the infantry. His name is Rafael. And he was patrolling with his ship. He was in the Navy, the coast of Gaza for terrorists not to come in. So you know, our children, they are the true heroes, okay? They are the ones protecting us all the time, okay? This is a bananas country. You keep your kids for 18 years, you know, you care about them for every small peep that could happen. And from 18 to 21, 22, 23, depends if they continue as officers, they are protecting the whole country. So that's our reality, okay? And when I'm asked from the world, what should I do? I say, please support Israel in all possible ways, because we are giving the best of ourselves. It's our children, okay? So answering you this about this new, what's going on right now, Guardian of the Walls, it started the 10th of May. It started because 2 missiles, okay, were sent, big missiles, were sent from Gaza to Jerusalem, okay? And this is the main thing. I'm already giving you why was this operation started? Because Hamas, in an internal dispute, political dispute with the PLO of Mahmoud Abbas, they want to proclaim themselves as the real representative of the Palestinian people, the only authentic one, the only legitimate one. This was done for the Palestinians as a people to say, it's time for the PLO to leave. Now the Hamas will take over. That was the reason. No other reason. I'm going to speak about that house. We're going one by one. We will have all answers. Most of your questions are going to be answered by what we prepare already. What I'm saying is, and you know what? Hamas did achieve, for sure, part of that goal. If they can be satisfied about one thing, is that, and they are even surprised about it. When Israeli Arabs, in the most extraordinary moment of proximity between Jewish Israelis and Muslim Israelis, moments ago that we were going to have a new government with 4 Congress people, if you want, Knesset members, as part of the new government, that we were hours from there. In that moment, Hamas attacks, and some of the Muslim Israeli youth make out of this an explosion inside Israel, and in a way they crown Hamas as the true leader of the Palestinian people. This is a catastrophe for Israel, okay? This is so bad for our society. I think it can be corrected, okay? But right now, this is one, if you ask me, what are the dangers of this? This military operation, I'm going to go into details in a moment, has been won by Israel in a complete way. Absolute complete way, okay? I'll go into that in a moment. But Hamas did achieve a goal that they wanted to achieve, and they are really surprised the way the local Israelis were so close, heart by heart with Israelis, in the best possible moment of the relationship between Israeli Jews and Israeli Muslims. They managed to break that beautiful pact that was going on and on. That's for sure an achievement of Hamas. Let's be truthful about that, okay? And again, the fact that Gazans die, they don't care about that. They never cared about that. On the contrary, they put most of the missile launchers in the heart. I have lots of pictures to show you, but I decided that there's so much information, I will go face to face with you. You will find all that information in any YouTube, okay? They put their launchers inside the most civil populations they can find, for 2 reasons. Because Israel is very cautious not to have secondary casualties in the war, and second, if that casualties happen, look at the Israelis. They want to kill our civilians. Those are the pictures you're seeing in CNN, quoted by the New York Times and the Washington Post. Yes. Next.
Okay. How is Israel doing in this operation? How effective is Israel? And how does Hamas operate?
It's a long answer, okay? Give me a few moments, okay? Listen, Hamas already launched more than 4,000 missiles against Israel, in less than 2 weeks. Now, the fact that they launched missiles doesn't mean that they were successful, okay? There is some destruction, okay? But most of them, when they were sent to populations, they were demolished, blown out with our Iron Dome system. So that's one thing. Israel, in terms of the destruction, of the weaponry, the military installations of Hamas, and the most important units, Israel wiped them out. A week ago, Thursday night, Aviv Kochavi, the head of staff of our army, he comes and he he does the, I don't know if you play poker. I don't, but I know what a bluff is, okay? He does like this. He says, okay, we're coming with the infantry. We're coming with the infantry. He moved troops. He sent tanks, okay, to the border. And he's saying, we're coming in. And some of the international press got into that. They said, they are coming in, they are already in. And some of the most important units of Hamas went into what's called the metro. If you went to Paris, and I love Paris, you go to the metro, you don't rent a car, you just take the metro. The metro is the subway, okay? All over. Well, the Hamas metro is an underground infrastructure of tens of kilometers, which was built as its main purpose to keep there all the intelligence, the military, the weaponry, everything there. And as in the New York subway, okay, you have the place where you come in. So they put in a normal house, a civil house, the entrance, and then you go into the metro, and that's all over Gaza. So when Aviv Kochavi did this bluff, hundreds of Palestinian terrorists went into the metro, and then Israel sent about 160 planes, okay, which destroyed where they were hidden. So it was an extraordinary operation in terms of the military, okay, because they went straight to the terrorists without nearly secondary casualties. Okay, this was an extraordinary operation. And on Sunday night, Israel completed most of this operation. 15 kilometers of the metro went down. Again, this has nothing to do with the subway. This is very important for you to understand. This is no subway, okay? These are the different structures of the military of this terrorist Hamas organization. So I'll go into some details. They say that only 219 people died. Okay, these numbers are probably not true. We know by name 150 terrorists who died during all these operations. Israel also, has chirurgical killings. That they go and they kill some of the main leaders, one of the main leaders of the Jihad the Islamic Jihad, which is the other player in Gaza. I will not go into so many details regarding that. Probably you saw the demolition of one big building, which was the communications building. How CNN and other friends of us reported this? Okay, they don't want free press, okay? That building was the intelligence building of Hamas. They have even weaponry inside that building. And you should know, this is crucial. And this is done as, and there are lots of, already look for that in YouTube. 3 times before the demolition of any building in Gaza, what is that you have? You have the warning of Israel. Everybody who lives in that building gets an SMS. You say, how? I don't know how Israel does it, but they do it. So I said, get out of the building and bring anybody out of the building in this and this time, it's going to be demolished. Then you will not believe what I'm saying. They get a phone call. Are you out? You should be out. We're going to make a demolition of that building. And then they throw a bomb without a bomb. It's like knocking on the roof saying it's coming in a few moments. So everybody's out. There are no casualties on those huge buildings. This is also very important because we don't want to have secondary casualties. We don't, in good English, we don't have any beef with the Palestinians. It's Hamas, which is taking them as hostages and trying to kill our civilians. tomorrow most Israelis will sign any peace agreement, okay? Hamas, I'm continuing on this, Rachel. Hamas was so surprised of Israel's reaction. They believed that this wasn't good for Netanyahu. Well, it turned to be great for Netanyahu, this thing I'm going to speak about later. But because, I'm saying right now, because the new unity government on the other side, the changed government, evaporated because of this. I'll give you details later. So Israel came with all its strength. This is something also that you should know Israel needed to do in a way, because during these 7 years, Hamas was growing steadily their operational capabilities to attack Israel. So at some point we had to do this, but this is the consequence of their attack. I would like to give a few numbers. Can you, Adi, can you bring the numbers up? Okay, you will see, I will provide more details, but for you just to have an idea, okay? More than 4,000 missiles launched against Israel. 5.5 million of Israeli civilians under immediate threat. 13 Israeli casualties. About 1,900 Israeli civilians wounded. I'm adding, take it out, I'm adding 1,600 Israeli attacks on military and weaponry of Hamas, 1,600 Israeli, more than that. And the numbers, as I said, they are saying about the 220 Palestinians dead. We will never know the truth. There is no truth in Hamas to the world. They don't allow the truth to go out the world because they kill people, okay, when they want to bring the truth. And something which was not there in that picture, which is also very important, about 500 additional missiles from that 4,000 that they threw against Israel. An additional 500 were launched from Gaza and fall in Gaza. So these are missiles, okay? These are bombs. So many of the killings they will attribute to Israel are their own killing, because these bombs they're saying, these missiles, although they're very powerful, they're idiotic missiles. They don't have a directive missile that you say, okay, you go to these coordinates. They just throw them. That's why our system of Iron Dome is able, which is really very intelligent, to find and blew them in the air. Next.
Why, according to Israel, does Hamas commit double war crimes?
Oh, thank you, Rachel. This is a very important question. Listen, it's a double crime what they're doing against, these are crimes of war. You cannot use your civilians, this is one. You cannot put your civilians to protect you. That's one crime. It's a crime. It's an international crime of war. It's forbidden. This is one. And the second one, you cannot launch a military aggression from a civilian population, because you are inviting the other side to kill them. So most of the what's the material you make your highways in the United States? Beton, Adi?
Asphalt.
Concrete.
Most of the concrete that entered, thank you guys, that entered Gaza, most of the concrete, instead of, we saw that, instead of building a city, it disappeared. It went to the metro. Okay, so they, instead of developing their own population, they invested everything in ways to go into war with Israel and destroy the state of Israel. It's disgusting, it's repugnant, okay? This is what Hamas wants. And one more thing, which is connected also to crimes of war. Today, yesterday, 2 days ago, during this operation, Israel sent humanitarian aid, okay, to Gaza. You know what happened to that? The Hamas attacked the trucks bringing the goods, okay, for them. And of course, they were able in that moment to harm two of our soldiers, one yesterday, one today. Okay, so they care so much in killing us that they will destroy the aid that the world sent to them just in order to hurt a couple of soldiers. That is Hamas. Hamas keeps hostage its own population. Next.
Thank you. Some say that the origin of these attacks happened in the Arab neighborhoods of Jerusalem, Sheikh Jarrah. How true is that?
They're travesties. You can say anything about everything, okay? The US never reached the moon in 1969, okay? Everything was Hollywood, okay? There was no Armstrong and so on and so forth, okay? You can say anything, okay? But I'm getting so frustrated on this. Media that considers themselves as serious, they publish that all this happened because of a real estate conflict between six families, and the owners of the land where they are not paying the rent. So Hamas will launch a huge attack with missiles, okay? 4,000 plus missiles. And something that I didn't say, something very important. Missiles to what? It was the south, but it was Ashkelon, Ashdod, Rishon LeZion, Bat Yam, Tel Aviv, Herzliya, till Netanya, Jerusalem, Beersheba. My son in Beersheba came to I live close to Jerusalem, a small town called Tzur Adasa. So he's staying with us because he couldn't sleep. And he's working and he's studying. So he came home because every night he couldn't sleep because they were attacked. And during the day they're attacked. So to say, just to suggest that the real estate problem was the reason of this huge attack of Hamas against Israel, it's a travesty of the truth. It's disgusting. That is really repugnant. And any media which will go and say these things, you know in advance that this is an agenda media directed to to say anything in order to say that Israel is a colonialist, racist, and so on country. Okay, this is agenda. This is agenda. No conflict can start because of a real estate problem. And I want to tell you something about that conflict. It's going on for 50 years. The Supreme Court of Israel didn't say its last, and didn't pronounce themselves. It's still there. It's normal conflict, okay? Yes, it's complicated because it's an Arab town by Jerusalem, and these are our very right-wing Zionists who want that house. It's complicated. Give us a break, okay? Don't like that, okay? Thank you, Adi. That's an important question. Next.
So Carlos, I think many people talk about Israel being an apartheid state. And during the operation, there was violence in mixed cities such as Yafo, Lod, Ramallah, Haifa. So can we talk about the mixed cities, the coexistent cities? Why are not all cities in Israel mixed? And is that a sign of, do you consider that a sign of discrimination in Israel?
Well, a huge question. Thank you, Karen. It's a very important question, actually. You're Americans. What was, I still hope that it is, because it's changing right now. What was always the main ethos of America? We are a melting pot. People from all over the world come, and they become one nation, America. Okay, so you're very used to that. There are not national minorities in America. Okay, everybody becomes Americans. Okay, it's changing right now with, I'm not going to that now. I'm not going to that now. It's a very important issue to speak about. I'm not going to speak about that. The racial thing, okay? It's changing, and I hope that Americans will keep with the basic ethos, because if not, that can lead to a destruction of the whole ethos of the country. I'm leaving that out. I'm speaking right now about the main issue. You Americans, you're not used to see countries where there is a majority, national majority, and national minorities living inside the country. This goes on in many countries. In China, for instance, there's a national minority of Muslims, okay? And the Chinese put them all of them right now in some kind of a huge concentration camp, in order for them to live their Islamic faith out, okay? Something brutal and disgusting, okay? Israel, what is that it did? It said, okay, there are different minorities. We're going to respect everything that you need as a national minority. So most Muslim Arabs in Israel chose to live in closed cities, close in the sense that everybody is Muslim Arab in the city. So you will go, if you drive in Israel, you will see many cities that are, that's an Arab town, an Arab city, a small town, and so on. But it's by choice, okay? Things that perhaps you don't know. They are not allowed. They were given the opportunity, if they want, to teach everything in Arabic. So in Israel, Arabic is another of the national languages of Israel. So they teach everything in Arabic, okay? Think about that. Everything. Okay, so most Arab Israelis, Muslim Arab Israelis, for sure, most Christian Arab Israelis speak Hebrew. Okay, but these are national minorities. For Americans, this is difficult to understand. And some of the cities always, since day one, had Jewish Israelis and Muslim Israelis living together, and Christians with Israelis. In general, with the Christians, we don't have any problems in general, okay? It's with the Muslims. I told you in advance that one of the surprises of Hamas is how big they achieved with some of the young Israeli Muslims, their identification with them, with the Hamas, in the mixed cities. So in Lod, in Yafo, in Ramle, in Haifa, in Akko, in the very first days of this operation, youngsters, young Muslim Israelis went out and destroyed everything. And even they lynched, 2 Israelis died because of that, 2 Israelis, okay? They lynched people, which was, if I cried about something in this operation, I cried about that. Because we were in the most extraordinary moment with the Israeli Muslims hours before this operation. Hours. We were as close as we have never been with them. So this was horrible, Karen. This was horrible. And when I truly wiped when do you say when you tear a lot? Okay, I was really tearing, okay, crying, when a very small mob of Israelis, of really brutal Israelis, some of them are regular criminals, okay, went into Bat Yam, they're not from Bat Yam, and they lynched one bystander, one Arab who was Israeli Muslim who was just driving there. He's okay, he's recovering, okay, thank God, okay. And the police were very slow on all this, not because they didn't care. It's also connected to the fact that for 2 years we didn't nearly have no government, so and no chief of police, national chief of police, was named by the present administration in Israel for 2 years. So of course that weakened the police. So the police did what they could. It took more time than necessary. And we had this phenomena. I believe, Karen, I hope, I pray for this, okay? This is my rabbinical thing, okay? I'm really praying for things to return to their normal path. We were doing so well together, okay? And there are so many Israelis who are joining and saying, we are not part of those who want to destroy society. But this is the vast, huge Israeli society in both sides, in all sides, okay? Of all the different national groups. So no apartheid. Those Arabs who live in Arab towns, they want to do that. In mixed cities, most of the populations don't want to be part of nothing horrible. People were punished. They're being sent to prison because of this. A little late, but they found each one of them, they're being sent to prison. And all of us are really hurting because of what happened to the society. And we hope that this comes back.
Thank you. I want to talk about the one question about the Biden administration. Why is your feelings about why the Biden administration is pressing so intensively on Israel to stop the war by Friday?
It's not my idea. First of all, this is very important, guys. I'm not giving you my ideas. I'm bringing you some kind of a summing up of some of the best analysts on this, okay? This is important, okay? These are not my ideas. I'm trying to bring you the basic information on this. This is also important. Some of the analysts say the following. Biden is very, very pressed because of today and because of next week. Let's talk about next week. Some Democrat Congress people started pressing President Biden to postpone the $700 million in military equipment, which should be shipped next week to Israel. These are precision missiles. So President Biden, he doesn't want to see himself stopping the shipping of that weaponry to Israel, which is crucial for Israel. So in a way, this analyst is saying what he's doing right now, Biden, is the right thing for us in Israel. Because if Israel achieves the ceasefire with Hamas, those Democratic Congress people should stop or will have no argument to continue pushing on this, or they will become again, as they are today, a very small minority. So in a way, President Biden is doing that actually to help Israel. The second issue is happening today. He said one next week, one today. And it's connected to the UN. You know that right now, there's a UN General Assembly with lots of condemnations against Israel. Of course, the worst one is coming, let's not talk about Iran, okay? That's a joke in itself. But it's coming from Turkey, okay? Which they see themselves, or Erdogan see himself, he's the Sultan of the Sunni world, okay? So he's one of the main supporters of Hamas. So right now, France, at the UN Security Council, they want to promote some kind of a condemnation and some kind of measures that are very wrong against Israel. So the US wants to veto that. That's President Biden order. So in order to have a less aggressive playground for himself, he's okay. I'm putting pressure on Israel to stop the conflict right now. On the other side, I'm going to ship the military equipment, the precision missiles, and of course, I'm going to veto things against the interest of the state of Israel. So right now, President Biden is doing two good things for the state of Israel, and that's the reason why he's doing what he's doing with this huge pressure on Israel. Next.
Thank you. Continuing with the internal affairs of Israel, please explain the difference between the parliamentary system in Israel and the presidential system in the US.
In the US, the guy who wins, or the girl who wins, okay, the guy or girl who wins takes the whole pot, okay? So if one party wins, so they take everything. All the administration is of that party. I'm laughing when I'm saying this because come to Israel. Israel has a parliamentary system. It's based on coalitions. We have 120 seats at the Knesset. So in order to form the new government, the new administration, you need 61 seats at least, the simple majority. Now, if your party got 25, you need now 36 more seats in order to reach the 61. So you need now small parties. This has 7, this has 10, this has 4, and so on and so forth. So the process of building the government is very, very complicated. Everybody has to give up things. And and if during this new administration, which came into an agreement, one of two of the small parties break the coalition, you go again into elections. So this is a very, for Americans, say this is bananas, okay? This is crazy, really. So that's why Israel, and at the maximum period of one administration is 4 years. There is nearly no administration that reach the 4 years, because always on the between the third and fourth year, some of the parties are thinking about the new election, they break the government and they started saying, no, we are better than others. So it's very difficult to reach a government. And for 2 years, I think that Netanyahu tried again and again and again and again to become the prime minister, and he cannot do it, because an important part of this society doesn't want him to be the prime minister, although they can be very sympathetic with his party, with the Likud. So right now we are in some kind of an impasse that we're going nowhere, okay? And yeah, next.
Okay. Israel had just come out of its 4th election in 2 years, and Prime Minister Netanyahu had failed to put together a government. What happened to this issue when Hamas attacked?
Well, actually, thank you. You're completing the first part of my explanation. So we were nearly there. But we were nearly there is the following. A few hours before the first missile from Hamas to Jerusalem, I was even more than a few hours. The evening before, I watched the news and I saw the new government. Who was going to be the minister of what? We don't have secretaries like in the state, secretary of agriculture. We have ministers. Everybody saw in the TV who's going to be this is the prime minister. There's going to be a rotation after 2 years with another prime minister. These are the ministers throughout the whole process. Everything was in place. It was Yesh Atid with Yair Lapid, Yemina with Naftali Bennett, Tikva Hadasha with Gideon Saar, Kahol Lavan with Benny Gantz, Avoda with Meirav Michaeli, Meretz with Nitzan Horowitz, and Mansour Abbas, this new party of religious Muslim Israelis with 4 Knesset members. All of them were going to be together. We were there. We were there, and we had 61 seats. And hours later, we had this missile, and everything is disrupted. Why? Because Yemina of Naftali Bennett and Ayelet Shaked had a huge pressure of their own voters, saying, we don't want to be in a government when you have people from the right like you, and the center like Yesh Atid or Kahol Lavan, and from left like Avodat Meretz. We don't want that because we were being attacked and so on and so forth. So they went out. There's no government. So again, we're heading, guys and gals, into new elections. Okay, next, and we're going to be finishing in a minute.
Yes. So how will this Hamas attack end?
It ends like always, a ceasefire. There's no peace agreement with them. Again, you have to understand this. Go into Google a little the Hamas constitution, and you will read in its constitutional letter that one of the goals is to wipe out Israel, to take out all Jews from the Middle East. And you know what? I will be fair with you. It's not only the Jews. It's everybody who's not a Muslim. Because that happened in Lebanon. Lebanon was a country with different, this is a good example of national minorities. Okay? There were Christians, Maronites, and there were Shiites, and there were Sunnis. There were different groups. And they were coexistent in Lebanon. And then the PLO came in, okay, after September, Black September, when in 1970, King Hussein, the father, exposed them from Jordan. They were hosted in Lebanon. They brought terrorism to Lebanon, and then they took Christians out of Lebanon. That was the great migration of Maronite Christians outside Lebanon, which is such a tragedy for them. So they want also not to have non-Muslim inhabitants in the Middle East. So it's us, the Jews, and it's also the Christians. In general, in the good Palestinian Authority, okay, in Bethlehem, okay, it had a huge proportion of Christians. Right now, it doesn't go into the second number. It's a one cipher number. It's like 3%, 4% of the whole Bethlehem population, Christians in Bethlehem. So that's what the fundamentalist messianic conception of the Muslims bring to this region and to the world. Anything else?
Thank you so much. That was really informative. Do you have a few minutes for some questions that we had?
I'm good.
In the chat? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people, I think, are asking, why does it always seem that, we can both speak to this, but why does it always seem that Israel gets outmaneuvered in PR messaging, that Israel always is slanted in the media? Palestinians are more adept to getting the stories out and controlled messaging. It seems to have been true over the decades, but especially now with mainstream outlets, which is more critical, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, that the Palestinian story seems to be more, the narrative of the Palestinian story is more controlled, and the Israeli story is less controlled and really not picked up as much by the media, which is, something that we deal here with BZD, Adi, Rachel, and I, of course, on a daily basis, and really try to keep people updated via our email, via our Facebook, via our Instagram, Twitter, etc. Really on a minute-to-minute basis, as much as we possibly can with the thousands of followers that we have. But do you have a reason of why Israel PR is so much less than the Palestinian PR?
I'll try. Listen, it's complicated. I'll speak about dots here. One are numbers. One is numbers, okay? The Jewish people were 15 million Jews, okay? How many Muslims we have in the world, okay?
Yeah.
So that's when you play with numbers, okay? It's really you're lost from day one. That's one. And second, new media or social media, okay? Once we had newspapers, TV, so both of them tried to be some kind of balance. They tried to be. They had agendas, but they tried to be balanced. In the world of social media, you can send 10,000 TikToks at the same time from 50 Muslim countries, okay? And Jewish communities, three. The price of truth today has no real value. Listen, this is my phone. I'm not selling any particular brand, okay? This is my phone. When I open my Facebook, I get very precise information, but so much trash, okay? That was written by people who know nothing about nothing. Now, in terms of the platform, I see one picture and one text. You have to be really into things in order to be able to distinguish between trash and information, propaganda and the telling of events. So that's a very complex thing. 4, pictures. What can I show? I can show lots of holes all over Israel of missiles that those went in, okay, and destroyed that room. You can see that the girl was crying because she lost the small bird that she used to sleep with, On the other side, you see buildings down, people, and a lot of Gaza wood, okay, a lot of things that, okay, guys, and this is funny because the international media take part of this, okay, guys, we're filming, okay, and okay, but in any case, the comparison of images, we are working to protect our civil society. They are working for the civil society to be exposed and die. The pictures will be completely different. Now, you can ask me, so Carlos, everybody's cynical. Why no one reports about the fact that Gazans are hostages of Hamas? And I would say some do. Governments do. Several governments do. We have so many governments that put on the Israeli flag in their own parliaments, okay, saying we are with you because we know the truth. But that doesn't sell good. 5, well, at the end of the day, Israel is the Jew between nations. 1,700 years of teaching, of hatred in the Western world through the church at that time against the Jewish people as the responsible people for the death of God, the killing of God, the source of everything which is good. I'm watching at the camera. Think about that. Nothing can be worse than that. That lie, okay, historical lie, okay, those who killed Jesus were the Romans and so on and so forth. But anyways, which was a way for Paulus to divide between the Jews who were traditional and the Jews who were messianic and believed that Jesus was God. That thing that was a tactical step that became a strategy and then became theology, became the reason and the teaching that we Jews are the source of everything evil in the world. In the 20th century, the old churches did the utmost to take out that accusation. They took steps, okay? Catholic Church, they did the Second Vatican Concilium in 1965, and they took that out. They said, no, we don't get, that's not the passion of Jesus. We cannot blame anybody, and so on. They changed. But when you learn generation after generation that the Jews are the reason of evil, well, you're saying the evil in your images, your TVs. So that's what's going on, Karen. And sixth, I would say Israel behaves very provincial, in a very provincial way, in this sense. Okay, they say, well, they always hated us; they will continue hating us. It's not what I said right now. I said that poses a huge challenge, but you should try to face the challenge. It's not that you give up from the beginning. And one more thing regarding this, as a Maccabi World Union professional, deputy director general, and the one leading the worldwide Asbara campaign of Maccabi World Union, there's lots of things to do. There are a lot of things to do. I don't believe that this is my personal opinion, but this one is mine. But I believe that I have all the experience to say this. This is not something that the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Israel can do. The ambassadors regulate the relationship between nations and Israel, like governments and Israel. This is something different. This is an Asbara ministry that should be working only on this, on bringing enlightenment to the world, to try to show, to try to bring some balance here. And I will say one more thing, Karen. I was gladly surprised about some strategies of the Jewish American community. Many young people, even my Maccabi people that I was very proud of them, said, answered all sorts of influencers, these idiots who know nothing about nothing, okay? They read one post and they say, let's fight for Gaza, okay? And they said, guys, two things they said. You're bringing hatred into this world, okay? Inform yourselves, but you're bringing hatred. You're right now covering a terrorist organization. Don't do that. And the second thing is, don't import this conflict into our lives. We don't need this. We have our own issues to be facing, which are very, very difficult. So that strategy in terms of the youngsters in the Jewish American community, many of them Maccabi people, and you guys, I think that's a good one. That's a good one to say to Dua Lipa and to all the Lipa Mipa Pipa, say to them, guys, stop it, okay? Don't bring hatred into our society, okay? I'm open for more.
Yeah, I think that was, part of the question is how to, which I think is good for you because you work with a lot of young people, is really how to get meaning Jewish Americans to understand that, standing for Israel is really an all or nothing. And the Jewish lives are at stake right now. I think especially in the United States, we had just yesterday, we shared that anti-Semitism just this week was up 438% in the United States. So it's really about, of course, standing up for Israel, but also standing up for Jewish lives in the United States, and really understanding that we are, as a Jewish community, in trouble, and that we do need to stand up for Israel, and we need to stand up for Israel because it is our homeland and it is the only nation for Jewish people, and we need to stand up for ourselves. And there are a lot of misguided Jews in our society right now, and a lot of them are younger, and we do need to redirect them somehow to understand that Israel is our homeland. And I guess the question is, how do we do that? That was the question, is how do we reach them before it's too late or before, the end per se? A lot.
No. It's a big question, but I would say some things. Okay, for sure, Israel is the most extraordinary achievement of the Jewish people in the last centuries, and for sure, Israel provides us our national life as a people. Okay, all Jews all over the world, in all Jewish communities, not only have the right, they are blessed to be fully proud national citizens of their countries. American Jews, French Jews, Dutch Jews, and so on and so forth. And that's how it should be. We, as many other peoples, we have the privilege of having the opportunity of being great citizens in our countries since we were born, and also to be able to choose to come and join the fantastic, beautiful, extraordinary country that we have built in 73 years since our independence in Israel. That's my life. Okay, I chose to come and live here. Okay, and to form my family here and have a lovely wife and great kids and three very patriotic kids. The three of them served very proudly in the army, and my eldest son in the Navy. My daughter was a spokesperson in the person of the army, and my youngest was a commander of explosives. So I have one in very different things. Each one of them were in different things, I think. Listen, when people ask you regarding the conflict with the Palestinians, you have to speak about that. You cannot speak about the startup nation, the miracle that Israel is. Israel is a miracle. When people ask you about Israel, so speak about the miracle. Okay, so when you're asked about the conflict, speak about the conflict. When we are asked about Israel, speak about the miracle. This is a miracle. This is we have solved the problem of water. This year we have more water than what we need in a desertic country. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, this is a miracle country, okay? And we fought so many wars, and we're still in war with so many countries, and this is one of the most successful countries in the world in all possible levels. So I think we need to have like different sets of answers and of products, if you want, to show the world and to show our youngsters, okay? Because there's so much to show. This is such a lovely country, such an open country. You know, something happened yesterday or 2 days ago that surprised me. You don't know, guys, there's this Eurovision contest. This is like the singing contest of all Europe, and Israel is also part of that, even Australia right now. And I said, we have our representative for Israel is an Israeli black woman, okay? And she was great. But I said to my wife, we're going not only to be last, we're going to be, if there are 40 countries competing, we're going to be 120, okay? Because in the middle of this war, okay, she has no chance. And in the pre-selection, she got the first place. So you know what? That brings me a lot of hope. So what are you talking about? You're talking about songs? No. I'm talking about the possibility of bringing your message. When you have a good message, the message goes on. I want to speak about the love of Israel, of how open this society is, and how so many different people, you're talking about the melting pot in America, come to Israel, okay? It's nearly funny, okay? But the good thing is that everyone learns a little of the other ethnic Jewish group, okay? And everybody together, okay? And this is a family, and we're still a family, okay? And we're doing not bad, and we were doing great, actually, with the Muslim Israelis. We're doing great till now, okay? So it's a backlash. We will start from the last point we reached to continue building a better society together. So I would say we have to provide information. We have to bring the truth, okay? We don't do propaganda. We have to bring the truth. We have to try, one important thing, we tend to think that because somebody is a Jew, that person surely is not an anti-Israeli or a Jew hater. That's an idiotic proposition. Okay, there are Jews who hate their Jewish self and who hate the state of Israel. So we have to learn to live with those who love Israel, Jewish, Christians, Muslims, and so on, and those who hate Israel, Muslim, Jewish, and so on. So because I want to tell you something also, that's why I'm watching at the camera right now, guys. All countries have people who have citizens who hate their own country. All countries. So we, the Jewish people, are not an exception of Jews who hate Jews, really hate Jews. And the most common thing in that issue is that these Jews, because of anti-Semitism, try to go with me. They know that Jews are hated by so many because of being Jewish, of themselves being Jewish. So in order to free themselves of that hatred, they speak badly about the Jewish people to become the good Jew in the eyes of the Jew haters. So we have to live with that, okay? But again, we are splendid people. As a people all over the world, we have achieved our national life after 1,800 years without it, okay? And we're building a very good society with all its problems. We have problems in Israel, guys. And also, you know what? You have to bring the truth also in that. Yeah. Is there racism in Israel? Of course, there's racism in Israel. But all countries have racism in them. Okay, so don't judge us with a different rule. Okay, use this one to all of them, including Israel. Don't use a different rule to Israel because that's not fair. Okay, but you know what? We're trying we're so many Israelis trying to change these things. Okay, I told you, I cried my eyes out when I saw the lynching of Israelis to one Arab guy who just passed by. Okay, because I said, this is not my Judaism. Okay, but I didn't say the Jewish state is guilty of racism. I know who did this. It was a small group. It's called La Familia. It doesn't represent me or the society as a whole. And they will be persecuted by law and they will be sent to jail, as Israel does. Remember, this is a country that had president in jail and the prime minister in jail, and perhaps we'll have a second one in jail. Okay, so and I'm just saying things that can happen. Okay, so this is a country where law is really respected. So so this is a great country. So we have to try to come with the truth. Okay, and also we have to try to say, okay, guys, if you keep inside the world of the woke, okay, of America, if I'm talking about America, okay, and all the information you get from there, you have to recognize to yourself that you're getting a part of the Jewish people as a whole, okay? Try to get speak with people, try to show, okay, look at different sources, okay? Finally, it's forbidden for us to give up the belonging of any Jew. Forbidden to us. We have to try to speak with all of them, if they come from the right, from the left, with everybody, to say, okay, guys, try to open up. The true idiots or the true Jew haters, even Jewish, okay, they're out, they will be out. We have to try to bring everybody in.
Great. Carlos, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your time.